And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of West Ham Fan TV's Friday Night Pint Live. It's me, Nicky Hawkins. I'm here with one of my regulars today. I thought it's such a big story. I know a couple of the boys tonight have gone out to a cup final. So good luck to JK Silvertown in that. I'm sure they're probably about halfway through that now. Dan should be with us at some point. But it's such a big story. I covered it a little bit yesterday as it was breaking. Didn't really know that it was, what was going on at the time. We've got a bit more detail now, so we'll be discussing that tonight. Dave, welcome, mate. I hope you've got a drink. I've got a little apple juice tonight.
I've got an alcohol-free Guinness because I'm a teetotal man. So
yeah. So I've got a little bit of apple juice tonight. I'm trying to keep off the beer as well. We've got some shit coming up over the summer, of course. But yeah, how are you, mate? You had a good week?
I'm all right. I'm good. Yeah, can't complain. You had a good week.
It's eventful, isn't it? During the West Ham, I'm tired, mate. I'm tired. I've had a hard week, but I'm tired. And then you see this sort of shit coming out, and just as another sort of one era ends and another comes in. It doesn't come in without its problems, does it? It comes in with, on the same day that it got announced that the new era has began, which we will be talking about in a second. A massive bombshell hits the football club. Listen, it goes all the way back to last year. I mean, it looked like last year during the summer, and the last knockings of the transfer window, it looked like Man City were poised to sign Lucas Paqueta. We was all expecting that to happen this summer after he got accused of betting charges. Listen, they were circling around last year. We was aware of them. It just seemed to disappear into thin air, and then nothing's really been said over the last sort of year. So I heard last week that they've got a week left to charge him. So in my mind, because nothing's been said, nothing's been heard, looked like Lucas, with all due respect, had sort of packed up. Was playing like he was packing his boxes to end up going to his dream move to Manchester City, and then this comes out of nowhere. Now, listen, we was some people were comparing it yesterday to sort of Tonali, the Tonali situation where he was making bets. I think when I've looked at the what he was charged for, he was making bets on games he was playing in Serie A, and then he done a few in the Premier League as he started with Newcastle, which was it's fucking crazy. Then you got 234 accounts or something like that for Ivan Toney. So people putting that, you're talking about 200 and something, instances for Ivan Toney, and he got an 8-month ban. You're thinking four charges can't be bad. What has transpired over the last day is that and I alluded to this yesterday, and I thought this might be coming. It's spot fixing allegations. It's not a betting irregularity for him. It's spot fixing. So the charges that he's getting bookings purposely. And I must admit, I've looked at them all, and we'll discuss that in a minute. Getting bookings purposely to benefit people, which is allegedly back in Brazil. And this is all alleged, of course, because the man is innocent. Let's just put that out there. The man is innocent. He's yet to be proven guilty. But when you're looking into this now, and I'm looking at like articles written today, but there is serious traction on he could be facing a life ban, 10-year ban, whatever. 10-year ban, ends his career anyway. He's 26, coming up 27. 10-year ban will take him into 37. He's not going to come back after that. Not playing for 10 years and then coming back, never going to come back. Obviously, it's a big investment for West Ham. It's a big problem for West Ham. Dave, wrap your head around this one, mate.
Yeah, the biggest problem for us, especially with the new manager coming in, is that we all expected Paqueta to complete his £85 million move to Man City this summer. And that was going to give us the funds to rebuild. If you look at £85 million, that's going to buy 2 centre-halves that we desperately need. That's going to buy a striker that we desperately need. And obviously that money now isn't going to be forthcoming. Even if he's found innocent, even if he's cleared, these things take time, and it's not going to be decided in the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. This is going to drag out for a little bit. In regards to the spot fixing, there's a lot looking at the sporting sanctions, and like you said, the prospect of a life ban, a 10-year ban, even like a 3-year ban. Realistically, at 26, if you're coming back at 29 after 3 years out, that's hampered your top level career.
Yeah.
That's put an end to that.
Let's take it away. That's taken away your prime years.
Exactly.
When you're at your peak.
But the other thing to consider is that whether there's going to be criminal charges.
Yeah.
Because I was looking into this. There's a case in Australia currently. I found an article from last week that 3 players at Sydney have received criminal charges for, a New South Wales police were involved for the same offence, for trying to get bookings to target a betting market. If you look at cricket, and I've been sort of doing a little bit of reading on this, when I've had a chance today, but there was a spot fixing scandal involving the Pakistani national team that involved their captain getting a 2.5-year prison sentence. So, depending where these bets have been placed and who's been defrauded, if that's the word we're going to use, if we're going to look at spot fixing in light of fraud, then if it's been in Brazil, I don't know what Brazilian law says on it. If it's if people in America have placed bets, are the American legislative and their justice system going to want to take an example? I think there's a lot of things that are going to come out in the light of day that aren't going to come out anytime soon.
The thing is, what worries me a little bit is that there's nothing been said. They've had a year. They've had a year to charge him. Now, I hope and pray, but I don't trust it, that they ain't just charging him so they've got more time to investigate it. It was, as I said, I heard last week that it's coming to the end of of the time which they can charge him. And I mean that with the greatest respect. Obviously, I don't want him to be charged. He's a big asset of ours. We invested a lot of money into him. When he's on his game, he's a world-class talent. He's going to be wanted by some of the best teams in the world, and he is wanted by some of the best teams in the world. He's obviously someone that he's going to move on. Let's be honest. It looked like he was going to move on last year, but certainly this year I was expecting to move on, and that could have been sort of factored into the transfer budget and into the transfer plans, and the promise to the new manager. Listen, if it washes out in the sun, then we've still got an excellent player, and hopefully, if if you look back at it, we can still get the best out of him if he comes back to play. And he'll remember what we've done for him and how we stuck by him during his time of turmoil. So, yeah. But there's got to be something. They've got to be looking at something. If the FA are charging him just to give themselves a little bit more time because they've run out of time and they're still investigating it, they've had a year. That is poor. Because you're messing with a young man's career. I mean, we see him towel off towards the end of last season, pretty drastically, to be quite honest with you. We was all putting it down to he's not interested, which is what fans do. They sort of speculate as to what the reasons are, and they put 2 and 2 together and make 5. But we were sort of thinking, he's got Man City on his mind. It could have been this. He could have been informed. We're gonna charge you. We're gonna charge you with it. I mean, the charges it's something like 4. It's in regards to 4 bookings, and I've got to say this, right? I've watched Lucas Paqueta over the last 2 years. He's a rash player. He is a rash player. I mean, you only have to look at the Leverkusen, the Freiburg booking, to see how rash he is. He's got that Brazilian flair. They've got sort of history for doing it. There's nothing I've seen now in them 4 bookings that are so blatant that I could turn around and go, yeah, that's a definite 100% attempt to get a booking. There's not one. Everything was. He was putting a tackle in, and it was deemed to be a booking. It could have been deemed not to be a booking. But there's also times when he's gone to get the ball and the player shifted the ball at the last second, which you can't you can't bank on that happening. So there's nothing there, and I've got to say, and maybe I'm looking at with it through sort of West Ham eyes, but there's nothing there that I can turn around and go, you know what, that is so blatantly obvious that he went to be booked. I've seen players that attempt to be booked. Kevin Nolan was one of them. He used to do it every Christmas, if you remember correctly. Used to get to a booking. Beckham got a booking, I think, to suspend him. So it happens.
Yeah.
It does happen. Obviously, like the charge is not always going to get a booking on purpose. It's because he's influencing betting markets. What I would say about Brazil, and as I say, look, I'm no expert in Brazil. I'm not a Brazil, geographist or whatever, but there is a big organised crime wave there. There may be something a little more sinister, at play. The government ain't even exactly, straight as a die. You know what I mean? So, look, there's so many circumstances. I'm interested to see how this plays out. I'm worried, of course, because he's one of our better players, but I'm very interested. I'm very interested to see how this plays out.
Yeah, you just took the words out of my mouth. That was the next point I was going to make, is that normally when you look at these kind of scenarios, there is organised crime behind it. Do you remember, if you want to go back, do you remember when the lights went out at Upton Park against Crystal Palace? It turned out there was a Malaysian betting syndicate behind that.
Yeah.
Obviously,
in the same week.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. Like you said, Lucas Paqueta isn't. Let's assume for a second, right, that he's guilty. I like you. I don't think he is, but let's assume he is, right? Lucas Paqueta isn't deliberately getting himself booked because his cousin or his mum has put a tenner on him getting a yellow card. When they do this, there is big money at stake. And with all due respect to footballers and like Lucas Paqueta, we're talking probably a year's wages by his standards, because it's not normally done on places like Betway either. If you look into it, it's normally like the very seedy, very dark kind of, normally Southeast Asian betting markets where this kind of thing occurs. So I don't see, if he is guilty, I think he's done it under duress. Because no one's going to come to him and go, like, let's say, for example, you put £10 million even money, to get a £10 million return on a booking for Lucas Paqueta. He's not gonna, exactly. I mean, he's not taking. You're not going to pay a big cut of that to lose. You're not going to pay out £2-3 million to Lucas Paqueta, and for the money you're going to pay him to get the return, it's not worth his time.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever? I mean, apart from that, Australia, have you ever heard of anything before? Somebody said to me that Xhaka was involved in something from Arsenal, and he got investigated for 18 months and got found not guilty. I'm assuming they charged him because, as I said, like, they've got a year, haven't they, from when they opened the investigation? So I'm assuming they charged him and he got found not guilty.
Well, when I looked into it, and I was doing a little bit of research on previous spot fixing examples, see what we can expect. Paqueta isn't the first South American player with West Ham connections to be accused of this, because our former youth player Christian Montano was investigated for match fixing. He was sacked by Oldham. It was linked to that, and it turned out that the News of the World fake sheikh had gone undercover.
Yeah,
and that his evidence was unreliable, and I think it was all overturned.
Yeah, look, it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to take some opinions, but I would say this, right? And I'm absolutely not condoning match fixing or match spot fixing or whatever at all. But if you want to look at corruption within football, I mean, it's rife. It's rife. It's one of them. And have a look at the VAR, and then we'll talk about. Let's take
I think as well. It's not the time to have the debate now, but there is. We've got to look at West.
Sorry, say that again, mate. I lost you there.
Oh yeah, so I think the sound went slightly well, maybe big pros. Football needs to examine its relationship with betting because you look at how many football clubs are sponsored. We're sponsored by Betway. How many football clubs are sponsored by betting companies, especially in the lower
I
leagues.
think that's about to
And then,
change. To be fair, I think that's about to change imminently.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's a
I
bit
think there is
hypocritical.
something coming in. I think that's about to change imminently. Let's take some comments. Carpy999 says something dodgy going on with big bets coming in from small island in Brazil. They call it Paqueta Island. And we'll get round to that in a minute. Paqueta does not need the money, and he plays the game that we love. What more do you need? It's not his money. That's the problem. A small island just off of Rio de Janeiro. Brian P says 2 and 2 equals 5. Look, listen, Dave, we're not. I know what he's alluding to there. We're looking at the worst case scenario. We have to.
Yeah, we are.
We have to look at the worst case. It could be nothing. But the worst case scenario is a 10-year or a lifetime ban. His career over.
Yeah.
Career over. We'll never see Lucas Paquetá play football again. He's still claiming he's innocent. Why would he do that if he was guilty? Makes no sense. As you said, Nicky, innocent until proven guilty. He is innocent until proven guilty, but he's not going to turn around in an Instagram post and go, "You know what? I've only been fucking caught, haven't I?" You know what I mean? He's going to fucking protest his innocence because he's going to fight it to the end of the day. He's going to protest his innocence because he's innocent. But listen, I'm fucking sure Peter Sutcliffe and fucking and all them fucking people started fucking protesting how innocent they was when they got arrested. Harold Chipman, I'm sure I see him say he had nothing to do with it. Killed 200 people. People are not going to just turn around and go fucking hands up, copper, you got me. If they're still fighting it. Usual Moyes is behind all this. Trust me, spiteful to the very end. We'll talk about Moyes in a minute. Actually, I'm going to put this out there now. We're looking at apart from Prague. Obviously, we're going to get onto the Lopetegui Moyes switch over in a second. We're looking for the best Moyes moments. Your favourite Moyes moments. I know he got a little bit of stick towards the end, but at the end of the day, he was a very good manager. I'm going to put mine out there right now. It was Leon away. There we go. I think the relationship between the fans and the manager was at the peak there. But yeah, get your best Moyes moments in, and we'll be reading them out towards the end of the show. I just hope the FA are clutching at straws. Never mind who he plays for. What a loss to football it would be if he never plays again. You know what? I've got a sneaky suspicion that they're just charging him for the sake of charging him, which is absolutely disgraceful. If they have, it's absolutely disgraceful. They was running out of time. Apparently, he submitted his phone to the FA at the beginning of the season, obviously to check any links towards text messages, etc., etc. It doesn't take a fucking year to check a text message, So, I've got a feeling that they may just be charging him just to give themselves extra time, so they can be wrong. If I was Lucas Paquetá and that is the case, I'd be suing the fuck out of them. I really would. But there we go. I just hope the FA clutch at straws. Never mind who he plays for. What a loss for football if he never plays for again. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent player. Really, really good player. Paquetá is a rash player at times. Not unusual for him to get stupid yellow. If it's their written communication setting something up, that's a different story. There we go. That goes into the phone. If circumstantial evidence doesn't appear to be stacked against Paquetá, but if that's all the FA have to find him guilty of charges, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up in a high court. Listen, at the end of the day, if this is what it is, there will have to be some police involvement in it at some point. And the fact that there isn't police involvement right now, that he hasn't been taken away or whatever, goes to show me that they haven't quite, this is what I'm gathering. And obviously I'm not involved in the FA, but they haven't quite got their beans in order. I must say, on the Lopetegui front, I feel excited to see him as our new manager. Now, shame he might not have Paquetá in his plans. I don't think he would have had Paquetá in his plans regardless. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm pretty certain. So it may be that he may have Paquetá in his plans if this all sort of washes away and he misses that move again. But we'll get to see. We're going to be talking about the new manager in a second. Hi lads, if it don't rain, it fucking pours for West Ham. This could be the end of Pac-Man. Yeah, shame. Apparently, They was betting on double yellows. Paqueta and Henrique, who plays in a Spanish league, he didn't get charged for anything apparently. Loads of double yellow card bets on them too. Eyes, eyes, eyes. Innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. City reports saying their pursuit is over. Really? I don't know. Where would these City reports be? You know, at the end of the day, they're not meant to be. It's not meant to be their player. So, J-Lo's first official down a job, and he has to deal with this. This is the West Ham way. This could be robbing the football of a world of a great talent. Such a shame if it happens. 10-year ban, lol. Everyone has fallen into sensationalism net. As I said, you know, we have to look at the worst case scenario, and that's the worst case scenario. Could get 10 years in prison. Burning the proof for the FA, but they get out of a secondary charge for not complying with the investigation. He'll get off on the betting and slapped on the wrist, fine a couple of games for the secondary. Very weird secondary. Xhaka was more spot fixing than Paqueta, and he was found not guilty after 18 months. Peter Jones sort of falls into what you were saying, Dave. Betway should have their contract with West Ham cancelled immediately. I mean, when you're talking about, you know, this is a serious thing, you know. Obviously, look, you're stupid. You're stupid and you're naive if you're a footballer and you start making bets on football. You know, it's in the rules that you're not allowed to, but you know there are instances. I think Tonali, you know, not Lucas. I keep on calling him Lucas Tonali, but I think Tonali's one of them. I think he's a self-admitted gambling addict, and then you've got fucking, you know, all of these betting accounts available to you. He's got all this money available to him. You know, it's such a poor link. You know, it's like running an organization full of alcoholics, and you're advertising beer to them. It's, you know, and they stopped the beer sponsorship a long time ago, as long as tobacco. You know, for me, you know, and I've seen it. Betting is you know, when you're talking about you know, advertising to, you know, the mass amounts of people, you know, betting's as bad as them. If they've got to make laws on that, look, listen, I'm not one of them people that say, oh, you shouldn't be advertising tobacco, you shouldn't be advertising beer, because they do. Simple as that. They do advertise it. But you know, if you want to go down that path, that, you know, there's no beer, there's no, you know, then gambling has to be the next one. You know, gambling has to be the next one along for football. It's just the natural way. Paqueta is hothead. Look at his England game at Wembley and Leverkusen away. Agree with you, Mr. H. If they haven't managed to get enough evidence after a year, how poor did the FA look? I don't know how you can prove it, says Paulie Walnuts, which, you know, that's down to them. I don't know how they're going to prove it. Unless they have 100% proof, and any sports lawyer worth his salt will make this go away. Andy suspicious bets from Paqueta Island, they use Betway. That would be silly if they have used Betway. Paqueta punched the ball at Bournemouth in the 93rd minute. That is well dodgy. I've seen many Brazilians punch a ball away in the 93rd minute. I really have. Like, it's not. They've got that sort of Latin temperament. It happens, you know. You keep you say that, you know. Let's taking your shirt off when you score a goal. They've been booked. They've been being booked for it for 15 years, and it still happens. So, you know, it's just sometimes it's just a natural occurrence, and it's very difficult to prove. They literally have to, Ian. Betting is one of the most heavily regulated markets in the world. As soon as these red flags are raised by computer systems, they have to be reported and investigated. Sadly, Brian, that is true. MSM and West Ham YouTube channels literally saying, bang him up. Are they? Give him some bird. What happens to the innocent guilty? Listen, if you know, YouTube channels are saying that, then that's on them, mate. But you know, he is innocent. He's innocent until they prove him otherwise. Ridiculous if people are saying bang him up. I do not think it's our players' fault. Betway should have looked into his previous history before putting the price in and getting the yellow card. I don't know where you do that. Obviously, not saying that is the case, but just one of 1,000 scenarios that we just don't know what the details are, so not really in a position to judge anything. Absolutely, Charlie. FA stitch up leave it to the end of the season and a new manager in either way. Not good if banned. We lose loads of money again and can't sell for big money investing amount to invest in the squad. And Paqueta hasn't done anything criminally wrong. That's why the police aren't involved. So there we go. Mate, sum it all up, Dave. What's going to happen? Tell me what's going to happen.
I think it's going to go away. My hunch is that it's going to be a very difficult thing to prove. You would have to get. I mean, if he's given his phone over and they can't find anything on his phone, in text or emails saying that, he's made the arrangement. He said, okay, in this game, I'm going to take a yellow card. I don't understand how they're going to prove it. So it's probably a lot of noise. They're going to try and make an example, beat the drum, but ultimately, I'll be very surprised if the problem isn't. The thing is the time it's going to take. If we can't sell him this summer, if he doesn't, if we've got to start planning with and without him for next season, that's just huge problems we don't need. No problem. No football club needs, to be fair, but especially for us, with a player like Lucas Paqueta, you want to know we're selling him or we're going into next season with him. But the limbo that's going to drag on is, I think, it's going to be a dark cloud for the foreseeable months.
Let me just address this one as well. Matthew Johnson says comparing Paqueta to Sutcliffe, etc. Come on, mate, get a fucking grip. I'm not comparing him to Peter Sutcliffe, obviously. I'm just talking about a criminal. He's a criminal. Peter Sutcliffe is a known criminal, and I'm sure he protested his fucking innocence till the very end. I'm not comparing anyone. Don't. I hate it when people do that. They put words in your mouth. I'm not comparing Lucas Paqueta or any of them guys to Peter fucking Sutcliffe. It was just the name of a criminal. I happened to be fucking reading something about Peter Sutcliffe earlier on. He was just the first criminal to come to mind. I'm not comparing anyone to Peter fucking Sutcliffe. Get a fucking grip. There we go. Right. Keep on getting your. I'm trying to star them now, but get your favourite Moyes moments in, and we'll be reading them out towards the end of the show. Right, the new manager. Yeah, so it caught me by surprise, the announcement. I knew, I knew it was done. It was the worst kept secret in football. I thought they was. I thought I was going to hang it out till Friday. Do you think it was sort of a distraction technique, maybe?
Maybe. I think, given the amount of managerial announcements this week, obviously Chelsea sacked my first choice. If you could have given me an option for the next West Ham manager, Mauricio Pochettino all day long would have been perfect for us. But then, Man United apparently sacking Ten Hag at 5:30 tomorrow. So there's a limited amount of headline space, and I think West Ham, as a Premier League club, probably wanted to try and pitch the announcement to the biggest market they can to get the most, social media clicks and so on. Rather than, I mean, maybe they knew the Paqueta announcement was coming. Maybe you're right. Maybe they thought, look, we'll distract them in the morning, and then hopefully that'll gloss over the afternoon's news.
Yeah. Right. Let's talk a little bit about the manager. I mean, there was a lot of noise from other social media influencers, West Ham ones, of course, that they didn't want him. He's a sidestep. There's no point in getting him after Moyes. We just let Moyes go. He's exactly the same manager. Blah 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 blah. All this nonsense. I mean, what is your? I mean, I'll be honest with you. Apart from the stuff he done, I keep on saying Watford, but it wasn't in Wolves. The stuff he done at Wolves looked good to me. I can't fault. They won a lot of games under him. He left under circumstances. I mistook him for another manager. To be honest with you, and I thought they sacked him, but they didn't sack him. Of course, he left because he didn't have a lot of funds available. He's obviously been the manager of Spain, the manager of Real Madrid, obviously, so was Pellegrini, and he's obviously managed Man City. That didn't work out. I mean, what do you know about the guy?
I don't think he's got the stellar CV that maybe some people what I think he's got. If you look at it, he's got a great win record with a Spanish youth setup. If you go through his career, he had the Spanish youth setup, did fantastically well, but they're blessed with the best academies in Europe. He goes to Porto, doesn't win a trophy. Somehow at Porto doesn't win a Portuguese league, a Portuguese cup, anything.
Right.
Gets a Spain job, gets into a World Cup, makes his own position untenable by flirting with Real Madrid, and he's told to go. He doesn't see through 3 months of competitive football at Real Madrid, having lost as many games as he wins. He ends up at Sevilla, wins the Europa League. He goes to Wolves. He gets sacked from there after a bad run of form. He goes to Wolves. However, whatever the truth is, and a lot of people seem very high on the idea that the Wolves board promised him all this thing and then pulled the rug under him. He walks out 3 days for the start of the season. I think that we can take as a fact. And if he's walked out of Wolves because he's not happy working with their chairman, I mean, you're at the frying pan into the fire going with Sullivan.
Yeah.
So I'm quite cynical. I hope I'm wrong. I'll say this now. Obviously, as a West Ham man, I would love it if we have a season like Villa had just had, and we're third in the league. I will hold my hands up and go, you know what? I've got the guy completely wrong. But I've got a feeling that come middle to end of February, chapter 3 of the David Moyes West Ham love story starts.
Polly Walnuts is saying your chair's screaming in agony. Fucking hell, give him a chance, man. Fuck, I've got a squeaky chair as well. Look.
Oh yeah, mine needs a bit of WD-40.
Yeah. Listen, I know it doesn't excite anyone. A lot of people. Listen, I know it's not the appointment that some wanted. I don't think you would have ever been able to please everyone. Some didn't want Moyes to go, obviously. Some were happy with Lopetegui. The Serbians just left Brighton. A lot of people were calling him, and I called that. I knew that was happening. I knew that was going to be happening. I knew that they was coming to an agreement. Someone told me, and I thought West Ham might have done a swerve on him. But yeah, it's it is what it is. And you listen. As I said before, David Moyes, when he first came in, I did not want him. I did not want him. I was very, very glad after they took, they sacked him after the 6 months. I was sold on Pellegrini. I thought Pellegrini was going to take us to another level, especially when we were signing the likes of Felipe Anderson and players like that. I just had this excitement about him, and obviously that did not work out. It was dross football. After a while, it just looked like he was over here to nick a pound note. Although he did go back to Europe and done all right, but there is circumstances here. It just didn't look like he was that. I always said that he looked like he'd been promised something from David Sullivan, and he hadn't been delivered it. And he was just sort of like running his time out. He was just, in the end, I think he was just trying to fucking get the sack so he can get back to Europe. But it didn't work out. Then David Moyes come back, and obviously, we've already had him. I did not enjoy the football. That relegation scrap football with the João Mario and all of that sort of thing. I did not enjoy it. I thought it was fucking dross. I hated it. And I thought to myself, God, this is now a long-term appointment with him playing this sort of football. And to be fair, in the end, we wasn't wrong. But you can't deny that he made an impact. There was an impact made for him. He structured the club in a way. He got some good backroom staff involved. Some of them leaving. Some people, sort of connect to sort of his downfall in his coaching methods and things like that, and his setups. It was. It was something that needed to be done at the time. It needed a good flush out the club. It was rotten. It was rotting from inside, and he built a basis. He built a base of players. he got a philosophy in place, whether you agree with the philosophy or not. As I said, he changed up some coaching staff, got some good coaching staff in, and it was going well. It was going well, and you can't, and that's what I'm trying to attest to here. You could not convince me, but I'm not one of them people that are going to say something at the beginning and stick to his guns. You have to look at it in terms of like, let's give the geezer a chance. So many times we don't give people a chance. I called Craig Dawson the worst signing I've ever seen in my life when he came from when he came over from Watford. We was in for Tarkowski at the time for 30 million from Burnley. We didn't sign him. We signed Craig Dawson, and I went mental. He's the worst defender I've ever seen, and I was so wrong. And sometimes when you get to that point, you have to admit you're wrong, but you have to give the guy a chance. You have to, let's see what he does before we sit here judging him. I mean, protests about him not coming in and, petitions not to a point off. I don't think it gives him a chance.
I think it's okay to express cynicism or pessimism. Yeah, obviously I'm going to give him a chance. Obviously, I've said I want him to prove me wrong. But at the same time, like I think there's nothing wrong with going early. You can be really excited. There's lots of people that are great. I've had some great conversations over the past couple of days with people who are sold on him that think, Lopetegui's gonna give us what Arteta's done at Arsenal and Emery's done at Villa and Pep's done at City and all these great Spanish managers are doing in the Premier League. And we're getting on that train now. I hope they're right, but I hope he proves you wrong. I hope that him and Sullivan and Steidham find a dynamic to work to make the dream team. And he proves you wrong. But I look at it from where I am now. I look at that record. I look at what he's done, what he hasn't done, and I just think we're going to get probably something close to Pellegrini than we are to Prime Moyes. I mean the big question is, we're going to take a step back this season. I don't see us.
I mean, when you say about step back, I can see it. I think the squad's in fucking disarray. To be honest with you, I think the squad's been left. Bare bones is saying something. You know what I mean? But you look at the ages of it, the age of the squad, sort of the injuries that some of our key players have got. Zuma, he's a good player. Good player when we bought him. He's got no knees. It's so obvious. You can see it. He pulls his socks up past his knees because I think he's trying to hold them together. That's what I think he's trying to do. Honestly, his knees are gone. He had injury problems with Chelsea. He didn't play a lot. Didn't train a lot. It was well known that he didn't. We paid good money for him. He's getting to the end of it. Ogbonna. I know he's gone, bless him, but he's the defender that was playing towards the end of the season. He's 37 years old. You know what I mean? And there's Danny Ings, not worth the money, £125,000 a week. Doesn't get fucking 5 minutes a week. We've got so many youngsters that didn't give a chance. Aaron Cresswell getting a new deal. I've got to say this: Aaron Cresswell getting a new deal. It does not make any sense to me. I know you've got to keep sort of like a voice in the dressing room at all times, but fucking hell, you know what I mean? Like the geezer. The Cresswell one out of them all, I don't get, because I know I'm sort of going off tangent here a little bit, but the Cresswell one I don't get because he literally went on strike last year. He refused to play a few games, and he got frozen out before they, Moyes, desperately needing him again. I don't want people like him at West Ham. You know what I mean? I love Aaron Cresswell. I loved Aaron Cresswell, but look, I do understand why he done it, but it's time for him to move on. He hasn't got it in the Premier League. He played, it was probably a couple of 100 minutes football last year. You know what I mean? Like for the money he's on, for the age he is, it's not Premier League quality anymore. And that's where we've really got to, start to look at where we're spending our money, because there are some big players, old players that are on a lot of money at West Ham. A lot of money. And they're not getting minutes. And we're just wasting the money.
The only caveat I could make to justify giving Aaron Cresswell a new contract is if you're going to keep him as a third choice. And he's an insurance policy. You can promote Ollie Scholes. He was fantastic in Bucharest. Had a really good start to the season when the under-21s before he got injured. You can promote him to second choice. Give him, the League Cup game. Give him the minutes, when Emerson needs a rest, and blood him. And if you get to January and you think he's second choice, then Cresswell, as an insurance policy, won't play a game, but will give you just that peace of mind. If you get to January and Scholes, you think, do you know what? He's not quite there yet. He's not, sometimes you take a chicken out of the oven, you give it a poke, it's not quite cooked, and you've got to put it back in. Then you can send him out on loan, give him, a loan spell in League One or the Championship, where he can go and play regular football, iron out some of the mistakes, get used to the men's football, the physicality and the pressures that come with playing in front of big crowds, or bigger crowds, I should say, than under-21 football. And that's it. That's the only justifiable reason I can see for keeping Cresswell. If we're keeping him as a second choice and we're just stifling another year of an academy player's development, it's money down the drain twofold.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And that's that was my biggest, peeve last year, is that the fact that he was giving people, like, I know it's not the same man, so you can't judge the new man on the last man, but he was giving like people Cresswell, Bonner, Danny Ings, these minutes, the players that have got literally no future with the club, and he's leaving the future out. We just see what George Murphy done. In the few minutes that he was given by Moyes in the last few weeks,
just to go back to Cresswell, it's a great example. Chelsea away, we're 5-0 down, and who comes off the bench? Cresswell, and George sits there. And that's more minutes. It's another Premier League appearance. It's another. You could just throw him on and say, look, I said it after the game. I'm just repeating my fan cam from that day, but again, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to keep Cresswell if you're keeping him for a second choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me take some more comments as well before we get on to the last bits and pieces. There we go. So, listen, Milan fans were ready to take to the streets to keep him away. Well, they're talking about Paqueta there. Is that true?
I think they signed that petition, didn't they? They were the first ones to get a petition going against Lopetegui, and then after Milan, I think they're going for Fonseca now.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he was even linked with the job. I thought they were talking about Paqueta, because Paqueta played for Milan.
Yeah, no, I think that's aimed at. I've got to learn to pronounce his name. Is it Lopetegui, Lopetegui?
Lopetegui.
We'll stick with J-Lo. I'm going to stick with J-Lo for the season, I think.
Yeah, we used to struggle with a few names on West Ham fans, didn't you, mate? I wouldn't be surprised if a small minority of fans just went Loppy to foul, so they can say I was right about him. I think there is that basis of people in our fan base as well. There's people that you've got to. Dave, I'm not putting you in this category by any stretch of the imagination, because you do your research. But there are some people that and that won't change their mind. You know what I mean? Like, he could come in and he'll win the first 10 games out of 11, and they'll say he should have won the 11th, and that's the reason why he should be gone. He shouldn't be the manager. There is that. I think I'm not going to just put it on our fan base. I think there is that dynamic in every fan base. There's people that just can't admit when they're wrong. But opinions are not made to be set in stone. Because you have to change your opinion with the information that you have in front of you. You can't have information and then new information come to light, and you're still basing your opinion on the old opinion, But some people cannot face the fact and just turn around and go, do you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Some people just can't do that. Their opinions are set in stone, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm always.
I was just to say as well, if he fouls, if Lopetegui fouls, then me and you are going to spend next season. There's no fun in going up to going up north to grounds, watching your team lose, and then just going, guess what? I told you so. I'd rather go there, watch us win, watch us play good football, and say, you know what, I've got the guy wrong.
There's some people I've seen, mate, that come out smiling after losses. because they didn't like David Moyes. I've got to say that. I'm not. I'm not one of them. I don't enjoy fucking running around the country trying to prove myself. Right, I'm going to support West Ham, not going to support Yorkie. But there we go. Let's give him a chance. I think you'll be good, says Steve the Hammer Solway. Yep, got to give the bloke a chance. We're in a different scenario to Pellegrini. Yes, we are in a different scenario. I think we've got a better team, but there is a similar rebuild needed. An upgrade on Moyes? Question mark. Well, I don't know. Only time will tell. Pellegrini 2.0 said Mancunian Hammer. J-Lo wouldn't have been my top 10 choices, but I've been really impressed by the limited amount of him I've seen so far. He could be more prepared, so everything is here for him to succeed. I think it was, I was sort of like privy to to when the meeting was, and I won't say it because I'm not that, I'm not that way inclined, but I know when the meeting was, and I know that it was all agreed before a certain game. So I think it's a good step with Steiden. I think Steiden done the deal, by the way. I think it's a good step with Steiden because he gets things done early. There's too many times when we're rolling into these situations and we're not prepared. Signings is one of them. And I think that getting a manager in before pre-season, because it gives him now a chance to look at he was looking at he was effectively appointed before the end of the season, so it gives him a chance to have a look. I slagged off that Cresswell deal. Maybe that was his call. Maybe he looked at him in a couple of games and thought, I'll keep him around. But it gives him a chance to look at his players. It gives him a chance to sort of make notes about what he wants to build on, to target people, to get a list down, to give the players a rest, to get them back on track, and maybe give them a text or a phone call before they officially meet up. And it just gets everyone sort of on the ball and keeps everyone informed about what's going on. It's it's important in football, but let's see what he does. You know what I mean? Like he's got a big job on regardless, and his first protocol is having to sort of like dance around the fact Lucas Paqueta might not be there. But there we go. I'm just happy we're trying something. If it doesn't work, hopefully Stein just kicks him out in a year and we try a new one. Like the Chelsea model, it looks like, fucking that was a shock, wasn't it? All the times they could have sacked him all season and they decided to sack him when they actually hit a bit of form, which crazy. El Chico says if the season started when he took over Wolves, they would have finished 6th. He did well, people being way too harsh. He's got a massive job on. No knees game, says Rory. He's talking about obviously talking about Zuma. Definitely need a new captain, which you obviously could, who could be the captain? Do you reckon? Well, Zuma could stay the captain, obviously, but if there was going to be a new captain, who would you choose?
Part of me, I mean, if you're gonna think of it logically, I mean, Ward-Prowse has experienced captain in Southampton, so I think he's probably got a little bit of that leadership mentality. I'd give it to Bowen, to be honest. I would.
Yeah, so would I.
I think he's earned it. He's reliable. He's a fairly consistent player. He's not someone I think that's going to go around pointing fingers and raising voices. He'll lead by example.
Yeah, absolutely. Rumours coming out today that Newcastle have re-coming for Jared Bowen, rekindled their interest is the word I was looking for in Jared Bowen, but I think on an 8-year deal, and I think he's untouchable, to be honest with you. I don't think they'll be able to afford him as much money as they've got. They've got to comply with financial fair play. They're talking about selling players. I don't think they're going to be able to afford Jared Bowen after the season he's just had. There we go. I would have Bowen as captain, which is Brian P. is agreeing with you. Mr. C says should be able to step back and remain in the Premier League as opposed to getting relegated and having to rebuild. Yeah, listen, I think there's a natural end to some of the players now, and contracts are running out. I don't think it's going to be the fact that we're sort of stuck with some of these people. Kimbo says we're definitely going to take a backward step this season. We have to get virtually a new squad, so it needs time to bed in. Yeah, I'm on that, mate. As long as we don't go down. I'm all right with that. I make Alvarez captain. Areola might be the new captain. Infamy Junkie says Alvarez, as much as I like him, won't be the captain. Bowen for captain. There we go. Yeah, I'll give it to Bowen. He's been around a long while now. Quite a few years. He's still got quite a few years left in him as well. Yeah, he's signed a long deal, sort of committed himself to the club. I'd have him as captain all day long. Always killed the love of the game for me. I haven't got any sort of positive Moyes stories, so that sort of feature's gone down the pan. Moyes killed the love of the game for me, and for many, his replacement is a huge improvement. No matter who it is, I'm going to judge him with us, not his past. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we need a few more English backbone. Youngster will be hungry for this. Chriswell is the same as Antonio. Should have gone 3 years ago. It's not their fault, and they won't get the send off they deserve. I agree with that. I watched Kevin Nolan's decline, and the criticism he got, and by the way, they leave the club this week, which is is sad because I fucking love Kevin Nolan, to be honest with you. I'll never forget talking to him in Larnaca over the thing as he was collecting the footballs in and all that. He sat there and had a good chat, and I always thought he was a good player. But I saw the decline of Kevin Nolan. Kevin Nolan was excellent for us. He got us up, dragged us up, and in the first couple of years of the Premier League, age caught up with him. And he wasn't picking himself. Same as Noble. Towards the end, they're not picking themselves. They're just doing what they can do, and they're trying to put their faith. The managers put faith in them, and they're trying to do what they can do. They know they're not going to be as good as they were. Sometimes it's it's not the player's fault. And I would put Aaron Cresswell in that sort of category. Although I don't think he's been sort of criticised.
No, I still think Antonio is a quality Premier League player. I just think he's a quality Premier League player for 45 minutes. I don't think you can get 90 out of him. You see it in his game. He normally comes out second half, flagging a little bit, and he just by about 60, 65, he's gone. That's age. That's Father Time. It happens.
Yeah. He should be coming on for the last 25, 30 now if we're chasing the game. That's we should be having a top class striker playing up front. And I love Mickey. Did you see his podcast this week? Not his podcast. He was on a podcast and he was talking.
It wasn't high performance, was it? I see the one we were talking about his mental health. Yeah,
no, it was. I think it was high performance. Yeah, I can't remember what one it was now, but he was talking about things that had happened to him in the past, and transfers that might have happened through the years and all that. As much as I love Mickey, and I know he's talked about his divorce, I didn't even realise he was divorced. I met him and his wife up in Manchester a couple of years ago, and they look solid, but he's got a divorce, so there was things that affect him there. But for me, Dave, and as much as I love him, and I do understand it when they get to that age, because at the end of the day, they're at an age where the club could just turn around and go, you know what, fuck off, we don't want you anymore, and they've got no choice in the matter. He doesn't seem like he's keen to stay. He seems like, I'm all right, yeah, but if something comes along, I'm up for it. You know what I mean? And I think he's been like that for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if he's mental health suffering and he's going through, he's gone through his divorce and that, maybe a fresh change of scenery, maybe somewhere like the MLS, a chance to move out of the country, different culture, different life, might give him the pick me up he needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Ings is one of the ones that I would not be binning off yet. He's a poacher, but we have not been playing that type of football. Good point, mate. There could be, Danny Ings. I've always liked Danny Ings. I'll be honest. I liked him at Liverpool. I liked him at Burnley. I liked him at Southampton. I liked him at not so much at Villa because he didn't play so much at Villa, but I've always liked him, and I always said he was a perfect player for us. I think he came in at the wrong time. I think it was a bit like Chicharito when he came in, playing the wrong system for that type of player. But you never know. With a new manager, could get a new lease of life. Get a new lease of life out of Danny Ings. I don't think Danny Ings is finished. I've seen the geezer stroll around the pitch at times. Yes, I don't think it's right, but I do understand that. It's frustrating when you're sitting on a bench week in, week out, not given a chance. I've seen Danny Ings come on and start tearing people apart. You know, I remember the performance he put in. You know, they're rare. Don't get me wrong, but I remember the performance he put in at Alkmaar away. He came on the pitch and he was the best player on the pitch. He was bringing it down. He sort of seems to have taken sort of like a new number 10 role, and we could need one of them. But yeah, so you know, it seems to have taken this new number 10 role. It seems to like to come from deep now. I think he's, you know, one of them players that, you know, really couldn't be bothered towards the end of Moyes' reign. He knew he wasn't going to get on the pitch. But there was times when he come on, and I think, you know, Burnley, he could have scored an hat-trick in 10 minutes. You know, he nearly did. You know, so yeah, there's a couple of players that, you know, maybe got new leases of life. We'll see. But, you know, listen, I wouldn't be starting Danny Ings, that's for sure. But, you know, if he's going to be sort of part of a rotation and the manager can use him properly, you know, I wouldn't be against him staying. It's going to be difficult to get rid of him anyway because the money he's on. I bet you Noble is the reason that Cresswell got a new contract. People forget that Noble's friendship with Cresswell. I don't think Noble has got much say in terms of contracts, I'm sure, but you know, I think that's just pissed in the wind. I see the guy that I had a go at because that Cliff saying, you said it, I didn't. You said it, I didn't. Don't get upset because you said something wrong on your show. I didn't say nothing wrong. I compared him to someone. I did not. You know, no, I didn't compare him. I didn't compare him to anyone. I turned around and I said, you know, about criminals. That was all I was doing. Criminals are criminal. I'm just talking myself into more trouble here. I think, you know, I'm just going around here and pissing in the wind. Cresswell will be good. Will be used as backup centre back when we revert to 3 centre backs possibly. I think his days are gone, mate. I'm going to be honest. I think his days are gone. You know, and I don't want him playing in front of a youngster. You know, there's youngsters that could play that 3rd centre back role. He's not a centre back. Keep in mind how weak the squad depth is. Makes no sense to keep Cresswell's backup up rather than having another buy addition 7 or 8. What?
Here's the thing. We don't need to buy 7 or 8 players. What we need is a good core of 15, 16 reliable players, maybe 17 at a push. And then you need to start giving the opportunities to young players. Because as I've said, they've just finished 2nd in the Premier League 2. Last year, they won the Under-18s League and they won the FA Youth Cup. These aren't competition winners. These are very good footballers. And we need to start giving, you know, with the Academy of Football, we got it plastered all over the tunnel when you come out. You know, we love to put it on T-shirts when they can make money in the club shop. It's about time we start backing it up. And if we can't do it now, with the best squad of young players we've had since the Cole, Carrick, you know, Defoe, Johnson kind of era, then we're never going to get it back full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly then, before we sort of end the show, thank you very much. Dan didn't come in, so I don't know what happened to him. But thank you very much, Dave, for joining us. There's some transfer rumours going around. I see some Brazilian centre back. Let me get up his name. I cannot remember it for the life of me. It's the only one I've seen so far. I don't seem to tend to take. I can't. No, it's gone. I had it up on the tab here. I can't. I don't start taking notice till June for transfers anyway. Some Brazilian centre back. Somebody said he's the new Thiago Silva, and somebody else said, yeah, he's got the legs of a 42-year-old. Bruno. Someone's saying Bruno. But yeah, Fabrizio Bruno. There we go. Know anything about him? Because I certainly don't.
No, I know less than you do. It's the first I've heard of him. Yeah, no, we've got a habit. I wouldn't get too excited. To be fair, we've got a habit. We've got Luis Al in the under-21s that we signed from Brazil. Never had an opportunity. You know, how many players did Sullivan sign? Yeah, the likes of Wellington and Caleri and Brian Montenegro, various others. You know, we get these players sometimes and we never see them. So if he turns out to be a great signing and plays at the first team, then fantastic. But I would take signings from South America, given Sullivan's previous track record, with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I mean, Nottingham Forest signed a guy. Do you know what? I forget his name escapes me as well, but he's been excellent. He's been excellent. This geezer.
Danilo?
Who?
Danilo.
Danilo. That's it. That's exactly.
He's a centre half.
Yeah, centre half. He's been excellent this season. He's mustard. Then I went up there and played him, and I've got to say, he was. I spoke to the Forest guy, Wolfie, and he was a couple of £1 million signing from the Brazilian league. Sort of like placed £50 million price tag on him. Now he was mustard. He's mustard. But there we go.
Well, fingers crossed. That's who we're getting.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. But as I say, probably not. It's a new Thiago Silva, but with his current legs, that's probably what we got. Maybe Thiago Silva can come in and help him. We like an old boy. Right. Let's just take the super chat then before we wrap up. Michael L 999, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you for all your hard work this season. No, he didn't say hard work. Actually, he said all your work, which is about right, to be honest with you. Yeah, we haven't worked too hard this season. I've had some, I've got to address this as well. I've had some, bad family news, and I'm going to bring back the podcast as well. I'm going to be telling you exactly what's going on. I've got some tragic news from the family, so it's been impacting me a little bit over the last few weeks. I must admit, maybe months. But I will address that on the podcast. I can't leave it any longer, but there we go. It is what it is. That's life, and that is the way it goes. So, if anyone wants any answers, tune into the Hammer It Out podcast this week. But there we go. Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of West Ham Fan TV's Friday Night Pint. We'll be back next week when I'm sure we'll be talking about all these transfer rumours that are going on. The conclusion of, I say conclusion or the update on the Lucas Paqueta stuff and everything else that goes on during the week. But there we go. Dave, thank you very much for joining us. Come back.
Thank you for having me.
Will you come back?
I said thank you for having me. I don't know when the mic's got again.
No, I can hear you. I said, will you come back?
Oh yeah, apology. Yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you back, mate.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we've got a bit of WD-40 on the chair.
Yes, I can hear that now.
There we go. Thank you very much for joining us. Some of the boys will be back next week. We'll be chopping and changing it all way. We're thinking about bringing back blockbusters. Well, I'm thinking about bringing it back anyway. I was looking through lockdown content, so we might bring back blockbusters through the summer. So we might be looking for some contestants. So we might do that as a little folly during the summer when we've got fuck all going on. That's to be honest with you. But there we go. Thank you very much. One thing left to say. Come on, you Irons.